you know, I kind of goof it up with Engelbert Humperdinck, but and I don't go karaoke very often. But I always wish there was one for the Love Boat. And then I read your bio, the Love Boat.
Right.
That's I love it.
If you listen in the background, you hear that sound. I'm using my phaser in there.
Oh yeah.
So you hear it throughout the whole thing. Besides doing, you know, some of the cues and things in the film, you know, the episodes themselves. But on the theme song with Jack.
So which ones did you have like the most fun with?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all a separate issue. They're all different, and every one is a challenge. And to come up with something, you know, it's a complete challenge, and you have to deal in your bag of tricks and come up with something.
I like all those sounds.
Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
They have 3 versions of it. They
Yeah.
didn't like it. He didn't like it.
Yeah.
The first 2.
Yeah, and then
And you said,
I finally said to Hugo Montenegro, I said, I'm going to do, you just sit in the chair, let me do what I want to do. And I started, and I put the tracks together, and as I put the tracks together, he says, no, that's too dumb. It's just too simple. I said, he's giving you to tomorrow morning. If you don't bring him something, you'll lose the show. I said, what have you got? He says, nothing. I said, let me finish it. I put it together, I put it in his hand, and said, bring it to him. He said, I can't bring him. This is too dumb. I said, well, what is he
They
doing?
loved it, right?
He was going over to the piano trying to find the melody, and he couldn't find the melody. But when I went, da, 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 he found it right away. He said, I love it. That was it. So, you know, it's amazing how the stories come about. Doing
So was the TV stuff? How different was that from doing movies?
basically the same thing. Basically the same thing. I did On a Clear Day with Barbra Streisand 3 times. She hired Billy Goldenberg, and I was playing guitar, and the guitar chair is right on the podium, so I'm this far away from her.
Yeah.
And she got mad at him. She fired him, threw all the music out. I get a call from the Paramount contractor, Phil Coggin, who's getting old. He says, Ralph, Paramount Pictures, such and such, can you do? I said, what are we doing, Phil? He said, On a Clear Day with Barbra Streisand. I said, Phil, we did that already. He said, no, she fired him. She hired Neil Hefti, who did the Odd Couple theme and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Girl Talk. Neil Hefti. And so Neil Hefti called me to play guitar. So I'm there again. Now we do the whole thing. A couple of months later, I get a call from Phil Coggin, and he says, Ralph, such and such a time, Paramount Pictures, blah, blah, blah. I said, what are we doing, Phil? He said, On a Clear Day. I said, Phil.
The third time, right?
I know you're getting old, but I said, we did it twice already. He said, she threw all the music out, got mad at Neil Hefti, threw him out. Now Nelson Riddle's going to do it. And so, naturally, I do all of Nelson Riddle.
Because you worked with him for quite a while, right?
20 years or so,
Wow.
30 years. So anyway, I go in.
isn't it?
Yeah, there's Nelson.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know who this guy is?
Chairman of the board. Before he was chairman of the board.
See who's in the back?
I know. I've seen that picture
Yeah.
online.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, I go in and I'm sitting there, and she comes up on the podium with Nelson Riddle, and she looks down and she sees me again. And I said to her, I'm going to keep coming back till we get it right. And Nelson Riddle, who's a friend of mine now, he used to come to my house, and he's going, she's going to get me fired. I gave it to her because she's terrible.
She's a real diva, huh?
Ooh-wee. So I gave it to her, and finally that was the final version.
Yeah.
That was the final